All right, so welcome everyone. Welcome to the Master Your Metabolism and Lose Weight Naturally Masterclass tonight. My name is Suzanne Ingleton, and I'm pretty happy to be able to take you through a very different way of looking at weight and its loss and your metabolism, and and just challenge actually the concept that people have of what metabolism is and what it isn't, and how it can be many other different things. So just as I'm letting people in, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing my screen. And just before we kick off, I will also just ask you to pop a thumbs up in the chat, or just let me know that you can see my screen now. I just want to make sure I got the right one going. Okay, so can you see? Let me find my chat now that that's gone. Okay. Can you see my screen that says Master Your Metabolism? And if you don't know where the chat is, it's like a bubble at the bottom of your screen. And yes, great. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you so much. I'm glad you can see that. And thanks so much for joining. All righty. So throughout the evening, I'm going to just give you all of the information that I have around how to master your metabolism. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat, but I'll be able to get to them at the end of the presentation. So don't hold back, and we'll go through those questions right at the end. And but until then, we will just as I'm letting some more people in. Hey, Mark, how are you? Thanks so much for joining. And so yes, let's get started mastering your metabolism. So I'm pretty excited to be bringing this to you this evening. It's I've been working with mind body nutrition for a couple of years now, and my inspiration and my training all comes from the incredible Mark David from the Institute of the Psychology of Eating. And so all my knowledge and wisdom comes from that space, as well as, you know, my own experience and working with clients for the last 4 or 5 years as a hypnotherapist, an eating psychology coach, and a NLP practitioner, which is all about the language of the mind. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that, why I do what I do. But tonight, I want you to, or I want to share with you a way to lose weight naturally, and harness the power of your mind and your metabolism. The mind is such an underestimated thing, and yet it is the most powerful part of us. And so often in life, we move through it without actually really thinking what we're doing. A lot of things that we do are very mindless, and you know, over time can cause unhelpful eating behaviors, unhelpful habits. And what I want to do is show you a little, you know, some different ways of thinking about food, about your mind, about different ways to put the pieces of the puzzle together around weight and its loss. So I suppose something that's come up in the last couple of months is the prevalence of different types of quick fix weight loss injections, pills, shakes. And, you know, we know that these kinds of quick fix options are just that. They're quick, but they don't last, and they certainly don't fix. Because, you know, weight is always a symptom of something else that's going on in life. And there's a lot around the mind and the psychology, the connection between the two, that really determines whether or not and how your body is going to process food, hold weight, store weight, or, you know, shed or lose or shrink. So that's a lot of what I do, focusing obviously from nutritional perspective, but also from how the mind affects your body when it comes to weight and its loss. So I aim to really give a lot of education around weight and how your body and your mind determine what is going to happen, and how perhaps there may be some hidden blockers there that are preventing you from getting you to where you want to be. And, there's alarming statistics that, 98 to 99% of people who go on a diet will put the weight back on plus more within 12 months. And, that's pretty heartbreaking for those people that try so hard and have been dieting for decades. They've tried every diet under the sun, but they just have not been able to shift it. And, I find a lot of it is just simple education. However, we've had a lot of information come in, externally around us that is very outdated, and, it's old and outdated. And the nutrition world is just so up and down. There are so many, for as many people that they say this is the thing that will work for them, there are as many professionals that will say no, that won't work. So it's very much for me is teaching our clients that to be the curious scientist of your own body and the nutritional explorer, so that you can look at a whole different way of weight and its loss, and not be not taking in, well, if that works for that person, it's got to work for me, because everybody is different. Everybody's physiology is different. Everybody's thought processes are different. Everybody's environment is different, and all of this has impact on weight and its loss. So what to expect, and I'll go through that in a moment, but if you haven't already, please grab a pen and paper or something to take notes. I would ask you to listen with an open mind, open and inquiring mind. And as I said before, for those people that have just jumped on, if you do have any questions, pop them in the chat. At the end, I'm going to go through all of those questions and then address them at the end, rather than go off on a tangent as we go through this masterclass. So what I want to talk to you about is the 8 key strategies that will unlock your metabolic power. And this is as taught by the amazing Mark David, and this is his book. I actually run a workshop on this called the Slow Down Diet. If you're ever looking for an amazing book to read, or if ever you want to come and join one of my workshops, it's all based on this, which is all about the 8 key strategies to unlocking your metabolic power. So we want to, I want to show you how your thoughts and emotions are just as powerful as what and when you eat. And I want to help you to supercharge your results using simple mind power techniques and ways to boost your metabolism. Now, I'm just going to turn my video off and on because I think it's gone blurry. Now I'm going to turn it back on again. That's better. Okay. So who am I? If you haven't met me before, my name is Suzanne Ingleton, and I guess my journey with weight started in primary school. I was not a bigger kid, but I was very much influenced by my peers, and probably one of the gangly red-headed kids with glasses and homemade clothes that, people sort of looked at in a different way, and I was treated a bit differently. But I thought that if I could be thin then and have a flat stomach, then somehow or other I would be liked more. And look, my mum growing up as a young woman, and I remember her saying this, that they would strive as young women, and mum's in her 80s now, to have a 22-inch waist. In fact, my auntie had an 18-inch waist. Now, I don't know if you've ever got a tape measure and looked at that, but it's about this big. It's just tiny. And I just, astounded now to even think, how do you fit human insides into that, into that amount of body? But something stuck in my mind about that I had to be skinny. And so I totally I starved myself. And as a consequence, I was a binge eater, and I was also a purger. So I would just throw up, and I would also use laxatives. I was not kind to my body at all, because I wanted to be light, and I wanted to be and have a flat stomach and a thin body. I wanted to fit in with my idea of the in crowd, who were all, pretty thin and gorgeous, and that's how I thought I could get there. But it obviously wasn't the right way to do that. So I had a very unhealthy relationship with food and my body. So that's my journey with food, which is very different. Everyone's journey with food is very different. So I actually continued this kind of behavior up until my 40s, and I'm in my 60s now. So that's a long time to really underfeed, undernourish, and not be kind to myself. And in 2008, I had a huge wake-up call. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that really challenged me to look at my health and what was important about my life. And I discovered that when my health had been taken away from me, just like that, I felt that, well, I need to pay attention. I need to be present with my body. I need to be present with my mind. And so I then started to place more attention and look after my body. And so, that was a long time ago now. I'm very fit and healthy, but I had that wake up call, and I made that choice to do that. So along my journey of finding health, and I noticed that, as part of it, I became a personal trainer. My oncologist at the time said to me, Suzanne, the best way for you to fight this is to be fit and healthy. And if anyone knows me out there, I'm a very literal person. So I went, oh, okay, how can I be fit and healthy and earn money? So I became a personal trainer, and that's where, my real journey, I suppose, began. And I noticed along there that a lot of my clients were putting a very unhealthy focus on the food, the amount of calories that they ate or didn't eat, and how much exercise they did or didn't do. It didn't seem to me to be very balanced. And over a period of time, they'd come back to me that, we'd do our work together, they'd lose weight. I'd have pictures of people with 2 10-kilo medicine balls under their arms, signifying that, they'd lost 20 kilos, and they'd lose all this weight, and it was amazing. But they couldn't sustain it. After they stopped working with me, they'd go away and come back and go, well, Suzanne, I need help again. I've put on all this weight. And I really, at that point, couldn't work out what that was. But it became clear to me over, a period of time that there was something missing here. Even though I was doing all that work and they were doing all this work, why couldn't they maintain it? And so what I discovered was it was the mind. I did further research and became very interested in the workings of the mind. I became an energy healer, meditation teacher, a hypnotherapist, and a neurolinguistics practitioner. And it was at that point where I went, I know what this thing was now, the thing that's preventing everyone. And 99% of the calls that I take are saying, Suzanne, I know what to do, I just can't do it. And the thought process is, there's something in my head that stops me from doing what I want to do, because I'm very well educated. I know exactly what I need to do. So this is where I found that the mind had so much power over, the choices and the behaviors that we make. In fact, it drives everything. So, so now I'm a fully trained and accredited as an eating psychology coach, a hypnotherapist. I'm a master neurolinguistics practitioner, and I'm a food matters nutrition coach. And my wore other hats along the way as a Reiki master and a meditation teacher. So that's who I am, and this is a bit of a snapshot of me and my life. First day on the field as a very fresh-faced personal trainer outdoors in Queensland. It was just amazing. This is all my my team, my training crew, my the guys that were part of my family for a long time of my life, and just various pictures of me as Reiki master, meditating, learning hypnosis with the incredible Tony Everard, my kids, and my partner and our dog Charlie, and this is our dream of driving off into the sunset in our caravan. So that is me in a nutshell. So I'm actually kind of keen to find out why you guys are here. And what do you want to know? So I'm going to hand it over to you now to just jump into the chat. When I find my chat box thing again, here it is. Can you just pop in now? What is it that you would like to know? So I can make sure that I'm giving you the information that you need. So if you don't know where the chat box is, if you're on a computer, it's right down the bottom. It's like this little bubble that says chat. If you'd like to just pop into there, why are you here and what do you want to know? And I can make sure that we get that. If I can't answer it tonight, we'll make sure that we get that information back to you. Yes. How is our metabolism connected to our mind? Yes. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to tell you all about that. That's a great question. I love that. I love that. Yes. Thank you. Anyone else curious, or does anyone else have anything that they would like to know? As I know that will definitely cover off the mind and the metabolism. Nope. Okay. Another one. Dealing with using food as soothing. Why do we emotionally eat? Yes. Thank you. I can absolutely tell you about that as well. Great. Great questions. All righty. So what I want to do firstly is bust some myths around metabolism, because I think these are things that most of us sort of assume, but I want to get into the nitty-gritties of those. So firstly, myth number one, metabolism is just about weight loss or weight gain. Does anyone feel that that's their belief, that metabolism is just about weight loss or weight gain? So while you're thinking about that, I'll let you know. So it does play a role in weight. However, our metabolism refers to all the chemical reactions that occur in our body to maintain life, which includes converting food into energy and building and repairing cells and waste elimination. So it's not just about calories. It's not just about weight. It's very much about any organ in our body. So any organ has its own metabolism. So, and it refers to any chemical reaction in our body. So myth number two, slow metabolism always leads to weight gain. And this is something that I hear all the time. My metabolism is slow. That's why I can't lose weight. So my answer to that would be, yes, it can make weight loss challenging, but it's not the only factor. We also need to consider things around movement, genetics, age, body composition, physical and emotional environment. In fact, our physical and emotional environment are really, well, particularly your emotional environment is really, really important when it comes to, how your metabolism is functioning. And if you've just joined us, I'll get you to make sure that you're on mute, if not already. And the last one is metabolism. The last myth, metabolism can only be boosted by eating certain foods and supplements. So this, once again, is a yes and no. There's actually limited scientific evidence to support these claims. But our emotions play a big part in how and when our body produces chemicals, which then contribute to weight gain or weight loss. So that is in part answer to Marg's question. Our emotions play a huge part in how our body metabolizes food, simply because our emotions produce chemicals in our body. The chemicals are, well, there's many, but most of the main one would be cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So the definition of metabolism is, as we mentioned before, the sum total of all the chemical reactions in the body. So it's everywhere in the body, every organ, liver, pancreas, heart, lungs, every organ, every part of our body, and of course our digestive system. Plus, it's the sum total of all our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and experiences. So it's not only metabolism is not only the chemicals, that are elicited in our body. It's our thoughts and our feelings that affect these chemical reactions. Because if we are in a stress state, then our body is going to produce the stress hormones, which is one of them is cortisol. Cortisol tells the body, it sends messages to the body to hold on to weight, store fat, and not build muscle. So that is a survival response of the body. When we are in fight or flight, the last thing our body wants to do is to digest a meal. So it actually begins to slow down and shut down the digestive system. Because if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, the last thing you want to do is try and digest your big steak. All our functions, all our energy moves from our gut, digestive system, to our arms and legs for quick, for fighting and quick running. So therefore that is how your mind affects the chemical reaction in your body and how that affects your digestive system. And stress, being the biggest blocker to weight loss, is predominantly caused by high levels of cortisol. And insulin tracks cortisol. And so insulin is the thing that stores weight in the body. So there's a bit of a chain reaction there. So let's look at these 8, what we call the 8 universal metabolizers. I'm going to go through 7 of them tonight. And so this is where I'd like you to look, look from an open mind, an open lens, around these different elements that affect our metabolism. So we have relaxation, we have quality, we have, and relaxation obviously is around the stress response. Quality is around the quality of your food. Awareness is around how we think, our mind. The rhythm of life and the body, not paying attention to that can lead to, can put our whole body systems out of whack. Pleasure in food and life is so important when it comes to working and maintaining a good overall homeostasis within the body. Our thoughts totally affect the chemical reactions in our body. Totally, you know, our mind gut connection, the two, if you know you're not thinking well, your gut is not going to be absorbing and processing the food that you're eating. If you're eating food that is not of good quality, then it's going to affect your mood. So the two are very they're totally connected by the enteric nervous system, which is really drives a lot of behaviors and will drive how our body processes food. Again, our stories, the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we've come from, which includes our environment. And of course, not of course, but the last one is all about the sacred, and that's really about rituals and practices that we put in place to give ourselves, for some, it's the structure in their day, it's a sense of purpose, sense of passion. There's a whole lot around that, but also, moving back to how our body responds from an emotional state. So let's dive in and look at the first one, relaxation. So I'd just like to ask you out there, would you consider your life as being slow and relaxed? So there's three things I'd like you to consider. Would you describe your life as being slow and relaxed? Would you describe yourself as being a fast or a slow eater? And do you give yourself the gift of time? So I want you to think of those things: slow, fast, and time. So when we are running at a fast pace, and there's a really good book called The Rushing Women Syndrome by Dr. Libby Weaver. It's very much about how we live our life at warp speed, trying to do everything and anything, within this much time. It just creates naturally a stress response within us. And it affects the autonomic nervous system, which tells the body when we're stressed to digest food or not. And so when we are in a stress state, our body does not want to digest food. As I mentioned earlier, it puts us into fight or flight. We just want all our energy not into digesting food, into fast running or fighting. And the autonomic nervous system, the automatic things that happen in our body, the things that make our heart pump and our lungs breathe, have two different areas to it. So we have what we call the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system tells the body to turn off digestion. The parasympathetic nervous system tells the body to turn on digestion. So when we are stressed, it lowers the body's nutrient absorption is lowered. We excrete nutrients, so we don't absorb it. We actually excrete lots of things, and this is all part of the fight or flight, the stress response. Our cortisol levels increase. It decreases our gut flora. It decreases the oxygen supply to the body to burn calories. And by the way, the quickest way to burn calories is to have more oxygen in your body. So a calorie is just a unit of energy. It's and it needs oxygen to burn. So a unit of energy is being a calorie is no different to a measurement on a tape measure, centimeters, inches. It's just a unit of energy. That's all it is. It doesn't relate to food as such. So you could burn a chair and it will produce calories. You can burn a piece of paper and it will produce calories. But it needs oxygen to burn. So just like a candle needs oxygen for the flame, our energy system, our body needs to have oxygen to burn more calories. So that's why it's really important to breathe and deep breathe. Where the pretense behind high intensity interval training is when your heart and lungs are really pumping, you're creating a lot of energy in your body and burning more calories. But when we're stressed, it actually decreases the oxygen supply to which limits, our calorie burning. It decreases your thyroid function, increases insulin resistance, risk of osteoporosis. It increases inflammation. It lowers our sex drive. So stress is not a wonderful thing to have in high doses, and particularly chronically throughout our life. So, the bottom line is a stressed eater, someone eating in a stress state, even eating fast, will put your body into a stressed state, which will slow down and shut down your digestive system. And when we are in a relaxed state, that is when we have the full digestive force of our gut. It does everything it's supposed to do, as in its optimal way when we are relaxed. So thinking about how you eat, when you eat, are you eating really fast? Are you paying attention? Are you what's going on in your environment? All of these things will affect your metabolism. So, which is, how the chemicals are produced in your body. And of course, being in a stress state will produce stress chemicals. Another thing that happens in our body, when we're not relaxed, is obviously when we're worried. Did you know that worrying about fat increases fat? Anxiety about weight loss causes your body to put on fat and weight and retain it. So really thinking about how your mind affects your body, and it does all start here in the mind. So really focus on what you eat, which is the next part in quality, but also teach yourself how to eat. My biggest tip here is to eat slowly, breathe in between each mouthful, and just really enjoy and savor the meal, the food that you are eating, rather than woofing it down in warp speed, because there's the body just won't recognize that it's had a full meal if you are eating really fast. It takes 20 minutes before the gut to register with the brain for the message to get through that you've actually eaten a meal. So if we're continually eating and we eat really fast, we're not listening to the signals of the body, we're not stopping. And all of a sudden we go, whoa, I've just eaten way too much and now I'm a couch potato, which is just really your body's forcing it to stop and go, okay, we need to do something with all this food, like lights out, let's digest. And that's how often people are feeling like that after Christmas lunch, looking for the couch. So the next thing I want to talk about is quality. Quality of your food is so important. And so, when you're listening to this, I want you to consider, are you eating fresh foods? Are you limiting your processed foods? Are you nourishing your body with, these good quality foods? When we have good quality, fresh, healthy, nourishing food, we're not going to be as hungry. We're going to feel fuller for longer. It's not willpower that's the problem. What it is that your body is starving. It wants more food. Even though you think you've eaten enough food, it's the quality of that food. If it's poor quality, your body knows, this little internal radar is going, oh no, I didn't get the right stuff. Our body's pretty smart. It knows what it needs, but it can't tell you exactly what it needs. But it will send out the message, hunger, 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 if it hasn't had enough of the right kinds of food. So oftentimes it's not willpower. It's more about the quality of your food. It's about the macronutrient balance, which is making sure that you've had proteins, healthy carbs, which are, vegetables, and healthy fats in every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So those three components over the 3 meals are really, really important, because if you're missing out on any of those things, your body's going, well, I didn't get what I needed. I need more, and it will just drive you to eat more than you need. So this is a part of the pieces of the puzzle that will cause your metabolism not to fire up optimally and keep you eating more than you need if it's not the right quality of food. So yeah, knowing also that food has so much energy and information in it. A metaphor that I often use is that if you were to close your eyes now and take yourself in your mind to a fruit and veg shop, and it's a really big one, and it's just full of vibrant color and different kinds of vegetables and fruits, and there's this wonderful smell of all these different, there might be oranges or lemons, there might be watermelons, there might be apples, you might be able to smell parsley, all these different kinds, array of foods. It has this energy about it. So when you go if you go to the central market or any farmer's market, there's just seems to be this buzz. This food has good energy. It's still partially alive. When you eat this food, when you're around it, you feel good. It smells good. It looks good. Must be good. And when you ingest all this beautiful food, this fresh food, it actually gives you that freshness and that energy within your body. You're taking in the naturalness of it. Now, compare that to eating, a couple of hamburgers or sausage rolls, hot dogs, pizzas, dense, heavy, processed foods. There's no life in those highly processed foods. Have no life in them. They're dense. They make you feel heavy and full, tired and lethargic, because there is no energy in that food. Typically no love has gone into making that food. Where if you think about eating fresh, healthy, nourishing food from, someone's garden that they've made, or, a homemade thing, or something from the grocery store, the fruit and veg store, just has a whole different feel to it. And that totally makes a difference in your body and how it stores weight, and how it affects your mood and your energy levels, of course. So this is, thinking about food has energy, and it has information encoded in it. Any food made with love, any homemade food is going to be so much better, taste so much better, look so much better than anything in a packet. So I'd encourage you to, really look at the love and care that is put into homemade food, the love that you put into food, rather than going for the quick, easy processed fixes that aren't going to give you, vitality and energy of life. So aside from the quality of your food, which is highly important, and probably one of the biggest things I would say, if you take nothing away from tonight, make sure that you are eating the best quality food that you can get or afford. And it doesn't have to be organic, but it has to be fresh. And even for chocolate lovers, if you like chocolate, please don't go for the nasty dairy milk. Go for the good quality organic dark cacao that has a lot of nutrition in it. And you're unlikely, because it has less sugar in it, you're unlikely to eat more than you need. It has good nutritional properties to it. So buy the best quality. If you're going to eat it, eat the best. And you still get to enjoy it rather than depriving yourself, because chocolate makes you feel good, right? And that's okay, but just make sure it's a good one. Quality living is important as quality of food. So when you're looking at how you're living your life, think about the chemical things that are around you, what you're putting on your skin, not only what you're putting in your mouth, but what you're breathing, how you're breathing, looking at the whole of life, the quality of your life, rather than just focusing on one thing. It's very much about everything around you. Now, I want to introduce Wayne, because Wayne is a lovely guy, and we finished working together a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so ago now. Wayne he came to me because Simply, he wanted to be able to live and be around his kids. When we first met, he was 182 kilos. He had been on the weight loss cycles forever, ever since he was a kid. You know, he's been dieting, he'd been trying to lose weight. He had all sorts of health conditions. Wayne was a truck driver, is a truck driver. And so, you know, he spent a lot of his time in his truck. It didn't move a lot, and which showed in, you know, lots of his lower legs were very dark and, you know, contained, inflamed with no blood movement. He had been diagnosed as pre-diabetic. He'd already survived a heart attack. He was a walking one. He didn't want to have another one. He was sick of not being able to buy normal clothes. He was wearing a 9XL t-shirt, and he just wanted his t-shirts to fit nicely. He just wanted to have a button-up shirt, so, you know, that they weren't gaping, so he could go out and look nice and feel nice. His multiple health conditions were brought on by excess weight. His doctor referred him to me as a last resort. The next stop for Wayne was surgery, and he didn't want to go down the path of surgery. So such a lovely guy. He just came in, always, you know, big smile on his face, and how are you, Wayne? Oh, I'm awesome. I'm so good. You know, such a happy guy. But you know, there was a lot of pain behind all of that, which we worked on from an emotional level, and that is part of what helped him to shift some weight, because we reduced a whole lot of stress in his head. But within 6 weeks, he'd lost 13 kilos. When we got together a few weeks later, just for a catch up, he'd lost another 3 kilos. So he was in total down 15 kilos, and he was down to a 5XL. He was pretty happy. He just looked amazing. He was so full of energy, and he was no longer constantly tired. And you know, what he used to do, and this is so scary as a truck driver, he would, I think he was driving from Adelaide to Perth. He would get a kilo bag of minties, like, I don't know, this bag of minties. He'd stick it on the dash of his truck, and he'd just eat minties, and he'd drink Coke to stay awake from the whole trip from Adelaide to Perth. And plus he'd be, you know, stopping off at the typical truckie stopovers and getting a couple of pies and a couple of sausage rolls all in one sitting, and, you know, big schnitties like this. And, you know, the quality of his food was just not helping him. And he did all of this to stay awake, and, you know, that's pretty scary. So Wayne actually found a whole new interest in cooking food, and we would have great discussions about how he was making his own hummus and drinking kombucha instead of Coke. Like, these are not things that I said, Wayne, you need to do we just said, look, let's work on how we can change what you're doing in a way that suits your lifestyle, because as a truckie, he had only very limited amount of space and to put food into. So that's why we just go to truck stops and just get all the takeaway stuff, but it wasn't helping his body. It was killing him, literally. So, you know, he'd be now munching on celery and carrot sticks made at home with his homemade hummus, instead of reaching for the minties. And he was drinking kombucha instead. And, you know, he'd come up with all these different ideas and ways of having good, healthy, nourishing food that he could have on his trip, rather than having the crappy stuff. Something that he said to me at the end, that life for him used to be, I'll do this tomorrow, you know, whatever he decided. He had a couple of teenagers who were very active, and he was always tired. You know, he just couldn't find the energy to go out and do stuff with them. You know, they wanted to get on their bikes and push bikes and play basketball and all that kind of stuff, and he just didn't have any energy. So he would always say, yeah, tomorrow. So instead of doing things tomorrow. He said to me, life at home is now all about doing things today. I'm not waiting for tomorrow. I do it today. And that I just, melted my heart. That was just such a wonderful thing. His whole family had been sedentary. He didn't move, they didn't move. They didn't move, he didn't move. When we finished working, they all got their, smartwatches, and they were all challenging each other to walk so many steps a day. He was out walking every day. He'd walk around his truck. He would only wear thongs previous to seeing me because, he didn't do anything, wasn't walking, but he actually bought a pair of shoes to go walking in. And all of that was just such a massive change for Wayne. So that was just a great story of what you can do by making some changes to, the quality of your life and food. So let's move on to the next, the third element here in the 8 metabolizers, which is awareness. So I'd like to ask you, and if you'd like to put in the chat, would you say to yourself, or would you say that you are present with your food? Are you noticing what you're eating, what you're drinking? And are you listening to what your gut is telling you? I'd just be interested to know, because this came up as a big discussion at our last Goals Club, Weight Loss Goals Club, about how being aware, the awareness of awareness just totally changed a whole lot of stuff for people, and they were starting to really notice their behaviors, notice what they're doing. So science has shown that the act of observation, the act of observing something, will have a direct influence on what we are observing. So whatever we're doing will have an influence on it. Mark's saying, usually present, learning to eat slower. I have to learn to put my fork down between mouthfuls. Yes, isn't that interesting? Because if you've got a plate of food, you just go like this. There's no stopping. Yeah, it's hard in household and groups that don't. Yeah, interesting. And so I would encourage you to, if there is a person or a child that is a slow eater in your household, just match them. See if you can match them. Or see if you can be the slowest of everyone, be the last to finish instead of the first to finish. Yeah, trying to force myself not to eat in front of the TV. Yes, when we're eating in front of the TV, we're totally not present. We're just, we're not noticing anything that's going in our mouth. We just eat. We know we have to eat, and we do. But the thing is there that the brain isn't, this is the head phase of digestion. It doesn't recognize that you've had a meal. And this accounts to the brain, the head phase of digestion equates to about 30 to 40% of your digestive power. So if you're not present with your food, with your meal, you're losing out on that amount of the nutritional uptake of your body. So, you're not getting as much nutrition as you would be if you were eating fully present with your food. So it's really important to know when you're eating, notice the texture, notice the flavor, notice the aromas, chew your food a lot, like more than 3 times. And in between each mouthful, take a big, deep breath, and then pick up your knife and fork and go again. That is how we're going to slow down your food. That's how we're going to get more oxygen into your body. More oxygen burns more calories. Because you're fully present and aware, you're not going to eat as much, because you'll be listening to your gut and you're listening to the wisdom of your body saying, well, actually, I've had enough. I don't need to have any more. My gut takes 20 minutes to tell my brain that I've actually had something to eat. But if I woof it down in warp speed, it's not going to get that message, which means, oftentimes people are still looking for food after they've eaten, or late night snacking, or whatever it is. the messages aren't getting there. So it's really important to be aware of what you are doing and how you are doing the thing that perhaps you don't want to do. Even thinking about something, for instance, thinking about a donut, and wishing, you could have that donut, and not having that donut, and just constantly all day it's on your mind. Oh, I want this, I want that, I want this. That actually, the thought is fattening. It will actually tell your brain to start producing insulin to cope with, cope with the sugars of the donut. So your body will actually start to lay down, produce insulin and lay it down in its fat stores, but it's not happening. So you're creating more fat when you actually haven't even eaten the thing that you're thinking about. So thoughts can be fattening. And I hear this a lot when people say, I just have to look at something and I put on weight. I just have to think about that thing. I never have it, but I feel like I need it. And I feel like I'm going to put on weight. And that is actually a thing. Thoughts can be fattening. Aside from the fact that, if we're constantly thinking about what we want and we're not having it, and we're denying ourselves this thing, it's creating the stress response within your body. Remember, stress produces cortisol. Cortisol produces insulin. These are two things that message the body to hold on to weight, store fat, and not build muscle. So be vigilant of your thoughts, and any thought. It doesn't have to be a thought about food. Stressful thoughts, and we'll talk about thoughts as we go through. But if we're not focusing on our food, then our body is not able to digest the food as it should. If our body's not digesting the food as it should, it means that we're not getting the nutritional value or uptake from that food, which means the body is going, I'm missing out on something, and it will send out those messages of, I'm hungry. So you're looking for more food than you need. So it's really important that we focus on food. Even in if you're eating in a stress state, the stress level, the stress in your body will tell your body also not to absorb specific vitamins and minerals that we need. So we can excrete them or not absorb them in a stressed state. So it's really important that we are eating optimally in a relaxed state, and being aware of all of this helps as part of those pieces of the puzzle for your metabolic power to work. So awareness is a part of metabolism. When we're more aware of something, we will have less of an appetite because we know what we're eating. If we're eating mindlessly, we just keep eating. We're not really listening to anything that our body is telling us. So something that Mark David from the Institute of Psychology of Eating says, that people don't have an overeating problem, they have an awareness problem. So I would like you to think about that next time you have a meal. Are you aware? Are you awake at your plate? Or are you just mindlessly, putting food in there because you feel that that's what you need to be doing at that time? Okay. So I guess, this is just an interesting little exercise. How would you rate yourself on the awareness scales? Would you say, and you can just pop it in the chat there if you feel like you're, if the smiley face is yes, I'm where I want to be, and the sad face is no, I'm not where I want to be. So one would be yes, I'm where I want to be. 10 is yeah, no, I'm not there. If you wanted to rate yourself, that might be an interesting exercise to actually do that, to have an idea of where your level of awareness is sitting right now around food, because this does also affect how your body metabolizes food. So the next thing I want to talk about is, 4, we got Jade, 4, and trying hard for that. Yeah, okay. So great to know this can be a starter and a tracker for you to go, okay, today it's the number 4. I'm not really aware of what I'm doing. Next time you eat, think about how you could be more aware of your food. Could you take yourself away from the distraction of a TV or a computer or a phone? Could you go outside and, sit outside if you've got a nice space and have your breakfast if the weather's okay? Could you sit at a table, with your family and eat your meal? Or if you're on your own, could you still sit at a table and light a candle and make it pretty and nice, and just really enjoy your food? If you've made it with love, hopefully you are, then enjoy all of the sensations, the flavors, how you've presented it, knowing that you've made it with your own little hands, and it's good, fresh, nourishing, healthy food, and just really enjoy that time with that food. I think Adrian says a number 3. Yeah. So Marg, 3 to 4. So yeah, my challenge to you would be to, okay, this is where it is today. Great awareness. You're aware that you're aware now. Then tomorrow, look at how are you approaching that meal? What is the overall experience of it? Always have an experience of food. It makes such a difference to how your body processes it. Okay, so rhythm. Life is a dance of rhythm. We have rhythm around the biology of our body. There's the rhythms of nature. We have the rhythms of seasons, the sunrise, sunset, the ocean tides. We have the cycle of life and death. We have the rhythm of how our body breathes in and breathes out, and how our heart beats. Women have their cycles. There's just so many areas of life that have rhythm. And, one of the things that's really important, and this sleep is a hugely important rhythm, because if we're not giving ourselves enough sleep, if we're not, going to bed and getting our 7 or 8 hours and waking up in the morning, we're lacking in that. That's a stressor on your body. So that's another thing that can prevent weight loss. And I know from working with shift workers, they find it, pretty challenging to shift weight when they're up working, when their body's supposed to be sleeping. So that can be a challenge, and it just requires extra attention in that way to really be aware of how you're feeding your body and how you're moving your body. But aligning your life with circadian rhythms can boost your metabolism. So if you're getting enough sleep, then that is going to help your metabolism. The best time of day to burn calories is the middle of the day. This is part of the rhythm of the day. The sun rises, the sun, gets up in the morning. It rises when it's at its highest point in the sky, is between 12 and 2. The energy of our body, our internal metabolic force, is at its highest, and we will burn more calories then. So it makes sense to have the biggest meal of your day. Doesn't have to be a massive meal, but the biggest meal of your day, instead of having the biggest meal at night, have your biggest meal at lunch, because your body's going to start to burn those calories more. So, if it's hotter, it's burning more calories. That's the best time to have a good sized meal. Of course, when of an evening, the body temperature is dipping, your metabolic force is also dipping. Our body doesn't want to be digesting a great big meal at bedtime. It wants to rest and repair, not digest a big meal. So that's why it makes sense to have your smallest meal of the day at dinner time, rather than your biggest meal of the day, which is a very Western practice. A lot of Asian, Eastern cultures, they have the smallest. They still have a small meal at dinner, a big meal at lunch. So, if any part of the rhythm of our bodies go out of sync, something else, other parts will suffer. And there's a natural order in us as humans in how our body breathes and our heart beats, and the energy of the brain, the electrical circuitry of the brain. It all works in a specific way, and when everything's in sync, in cycle, we thrive. on natural order. But when things are out of whack, we're not getting enough sleep, we're not eating regularly, we're very arrhythmic in the way that we eat. Sometimes we eat, sometimes we don't. Body goes, whoa, I don't know what's going on. Am I getting fed or not? Maybe not. I need to hang on to my weight. I go into starvation mode. And when we're in starvation mode, body's holding on to weight because it doesn't know when it's going to get fed. When things become disordered, either in our environment or in our internal mechanism, disordered eating, dis-ease occurs, and it can lead to full-blown disease. It's not helpful to a body that needs to have a balanced metabolism, particularly when your goal is to lose weight. So things like under eating slows down your metabolism. Like I said, the body thinks it's in fight or flight. It thinks it's in famine. It's on a desert island, and that will also slow down your metabolism. Your body just wants to store weight. So, if you've ever heard of a bigger bodied person, or you might be a bigger bodied person, and you say to yourself, but I don't eat anything. Like I had, 3 strawberries today and I just can't lose weight. I don't know what's going on. It's because your body's just recognizing, wow, I'm not getting any food. I need to survive. And it will begin to hold on to anything and just create more weight to, just in an effort to survive. So that's, you're either not eating or you're eating irregularly, the same kind of thing occurs. So eating too many refined carbs, processed foods, that also tricks the body into storing fat. It's not a healthy option. We all know that. And balancing macronutrients. So macronutrients are the biggest nutrients. We've got micronutrients, which are the small minerals and things, that our body needs to survive, but we have the big macro, which is protein. So, meat, fish, eggs, chicken, those kind of plant-based proteins, healthy carbohydrates, and I've talked about this earlier, which is the second one, which is mostly vegetables and some fruits. So healthy carbohydrates. We have the unhealthy processed carbs, but we have healthy carbohydrates. And then healthy fats. So things like avocados, fatty fish like salmon, nuts, seeds, olive oil, those kinds of things. They are balanced macronutrients, and you have them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they are also part of the rhythm of how our body, needs to flow and survive, to do what it needs to do for energy and, so that we can do all the things that we want to do. Pleasure. So, do you experience a sense of pleasure when you eat? And are your eating experiences relaxed and enjoyable? And do you take time out for yourself to put a smile on your dial and to just smile during the day? It's so important to experience pleasure around food. And some people go, well, yes, but I overeat. It's too pleasurable for me. Or some people will go, I'm fearful of food. I hate going out because there's food everywhere and I don't know what to do. And there's too much choice, and becomes, people become anxious around too much food. So it's finding that balance for you of to enjoy what you eat. When you eat what you love, your body loves what you eat. And there are studies done in participants who had high cholesterol, and they were placed on a really boring and low-fat diet. Every other day they were allowed to splurge and have something that they liked, milkshake and ham and cheese sandwich, which should really have caused their cholesterol levels to go up, because it wasn't working for them from a cholesterol point of view. But because these people enjoyed this meal in their very boring, bland life at that point, the chemistry created in their body by pleasure, the feel goods, mitigated any rise in cholesterol. So their cholesterol didn't rise, even though that they were eating the foods that typically would make it rise. There's another study that between Thai and Swedish women, so two completely different cultures eating completely different kinds of foods, and they discovered that you can measure the uptake of iron in your body. So these women, so the Thai women were given the Swedish meal, and the Swedish women were given a Thai meal, and they didn't like these meals at all. You know, the different cultures, you know, Thai food is light and fresh, and they were eating stodgy, heavy Swedish food. And, you know, same with on the other side. So they measured the iron uptake, and it was significantly, it was 70% less than when they enjoyed the meal. So when they enjoyed their meal, they took up X amount of iron. When the opposite people ate the opposite kind of food, they didn't enjoy it. So the absorption was 70% less. The same goes with that they redid this study. So the Swedish women and the Thai women, what they did with their respective meals, they mushed it up in a blender. So, you know, the Thai women had all their beautiful fresh greens and things all mushed up in a blender, and the Swedish women had, you know, all their, you know, heavier foods, the foods that they liked, mushed up. When they both had their own foods all mushed up, they still didn't enjoy it. It wasn't very nice. And they still noticed that they had a 70% less absorption rate of iron. So it just sort of double confirmed that their eating experience, the pleasure of the meal, totally affected how their body uptook this particular mineral. So it's really important to enjoy your food. It brings about a better digestive force. Your body will digest that food, which is part of your metabolism. And also, you know, eating excessive, having excessive cortisol, stress levels, desensitizes us to the feeling of enjoyment around food. So when you're highly stressed, you're not going to enjoy your food as much, basically. So if you're not going to enjoy your food as much, you're not going to get the nutritional uptake of it. And, you know, as human beings, we're designed to enjoy sweet things. The middle part of our tongue is all about sweet. So, you know, it's okay to have sweet things, but manage in your own mind what the quality of that and how you can give yourself some pleasure. Don't deny yourself of sweet foods, because it's here in the middle of our tongue. We're designed to eat it. And something else to consider is that, you know, our experience of life can often mirror, our experience of food can often mirror our experience of life. And our relationship with food is the longest relationship that we will ever have. And so, you know, if we're not having a good time in life, we're not having a good time with our food. If we're not having a good time with our food, we're not having a good time in our life. It's just an interesting way of looking at, well, the stress in our life is causing me to eat in ways that are unhelpful. And the question was around emotional eating. Yes, we are designed to eat to self-soothe. This is in our DNA. As babies, you give a crying baby the breast or the bottle, within nanoseconds, that baby has stopped crying because it's getting food, but it's also getting, you know, mum's love or the carer's love and attention and, you know, warmth. And there's so much more that goes with the food. But this in our DNA, and it's part of our survival response. Our body doesn't want to be in a stress state all the time. Food will relax us. It is designed, we are designed to self-soothe with food. But of course, if this becomes something that you do as your, you know, a regular coping mechanism as an adult, it can lead to, you know, issues with food and body challenges. This is where people go, I'm an emotional eater. But, you know, emotions can be happiness, they can be sadness, and food for many people, food around community is love. You know, food is love, love is food. But sometimes the boundaries get a bit blurred here. So when we're talking about emotional eating, It's looking at, well, what is the emotional driver? What is driving you to eat in ways that are unhelpful if it's a negative emotion? Yes, you will be driven to do that naturally. So, but it's working out, well, what is the thing that we can work on, which is what I do, you know, with men and women, to get to the root cause of their unhelpful eating behaviors, which will always lie in an emotion based on past events. And we just dissolve all of that. So that, you know, there's so much more headspace to enjoy food for how it should be enjoyed, without fear or without being driven in a way that's not helpful. So yeah, it's really important that, you know, as part of the doorway of looking at, well, what is the challenge around food? This is like just opening a door to go, okay, you know, weight gain is a symptom of something else that's going on. What else is going on in my life that's driving me to eat in ways that are unhelpful? So look at your life. And oftentimes that opens the door to move forwards on another journey to find out, well, what part of your life and what are the things that you can now do to assist your body to shed or maintain weight. So that's pleasure. An interesting quote I came across was by Epicurus. Epicurus was a Greek philosopher. He was the author of the ethical philosophy of simple pleasure, friendship, and retirement. So he said, "It is impossible to live pleasurably without living wisely, well, and justly. And it is impossible to live wisely, well, and justly without living pleasurably." So I suppose that's, you know, saying that we have to be sensible about what we're doing around pleasure and food. It's no point in saying, oh yes, I love all this food, I love all my chocolate and I love all my cakes, and I'm just going to eat all that food because it's pleasurable. But we know that that's not helpful. You know, at the core of it, eating too much of that is not going to help us achieve a goal of weight loss. So it's about finding the balance, and to you know, really be, as I said, the curious scientist and the nutritional explorer to find out what works for you, because what works for you it's going to be different to what works for someone else. And that's what, you know, we do in the Mind Body Weight Reset program, is to really identify what is it that's going to help you to still enjoy your life, but you know, eat in a way that's going to help your body. And I just want to talk about Raylene here for, oh, no, I don't. I want to talk about thought. So as I've been talking, our thoughts totally affect the physiology of our body. So if you guys were to describe your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts, remember we were talking about quality of food, quality of environment. Well, there's also the quality of your thought. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is a good quality and 10 is not good quality. What would you guys say your thoughts are around food? Anyone got 3? Okay, yeah, 3. Yeah, good. So pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, that's great. So be the guardian of your thoughts. When we're thinking negative thoughts, nasty self-attacks, saying horrible things to ourselves, which we would never say to anyone else, but we for some reason think it's okay to, you know, be mean to ourselves. It's not okay, because it's creating the stress response. The stress is the biggest blocker to weight loss. And when we're talking in ways that are unhelpful, it's actually unhelpful to our body. So it's really important, you know, the stress, just thinking of things. Our mind can't tell the difference between what is real and what is not. You can think of a stressful situation that might have happened, you know, 10 years ago. It will create exactly the same chemical reaction in your body right now as it did back then. And that chemical reaction, if it's stress, it will produce cortisol, and it will tell the body's insulin levels to rise. You know, you're telling your body, sending the message, store fat, hold on to weight, don't build muscle. So that's not helpful when your goal is weight loss. On the other side of the coin, you can think really happy thoughts and get all the feel goods going on in your body, which is great, So, and we can change the thought just like that. Our thoughts are not cut in stone. When you're aware, remember awareness, when you're aware of something and it's unhelpful, you can simply go stop, which breaks the thought pattern. It's called a pattern interrupter. When you say stop, all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, well, that thought's not helpful. What's a more helpful thought? Let's get into the present moment. What am I supposed to be doing right now? What can I think about in my mind that is going to improve the quality of my thought? Thinking about the kids laughing, what your dog did yesterday, or listening to a beautiful magpie sing you a song or something. Just grab a hug from someone walking past in your family. These things can change your thoughts instantly. Negative thoughts will directly inhibit your digestion, which is all about the stress response. Slows down, shuts down the digestive digestive power. So the placebo effect is actually positive proof that our thoughts change how our body functions. So, and that's just thinking about things will change what happens. The placebo effect is the power of thought. And, a very well-known study is people given chemotherapy drugs. A group of people that do have cancer are given a drug, and people that also have cancer not given a salt tablet or saline injection. So the people that were given the saline injection, not knowing that that's what it was, feel, in their mind, they thought, okay, I've got cancer, I'm having chemo now, and so my hair's going to fall out. Majority of those people, their hair fell out, even though they were not given the chemo drug. So that is the power of thought. That's a very well-known study, and it happens in all sorts of areas. So what you think about, you bring about. The quality of your thoughts will bring about the physiological reaction of your body. It's the placebo effect. It's really important to be the guardian of your own thoughts. And the root cause of your motivation will affect how your metabolism works. So if motivation is coming from a negative space, then results are harder to achieve. When the same action is fueled by a positive thought, you'll get a positive result. So it's easier to achieve and feel more motivated to continue doing what you want. So an example would be, if we were to look at a couple of people whose highest value was health, and we asked, why is that important to you? And one of them says, the most important thing is my health, but it's important to me because I don't want to be sick. And so if we said, well, do you think about that a lot? And they go, yeah, I'm always thinking about, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be sick, but my highest value is health. So in fact, they're always thinking about being sick. Another person we asked, what's their highest value, which is health, and why is that important to them? And they said, well, because I want to feel good. Health is important to me because I want to feel good. So how often do you think about that? Yeah, a lot. I'm constantly thinking about feeling good. So the person that's feeling good is more motivated. It's an easy feel, like you feel good. It's easier to go ahead and do all the things to be healthy and feel good. But if you're constantly thinking about being sick, and I don't want to be sick, you're constantly in a negative thought space. And so it's harder to get to your goal of health because it's heavy and you're thinking about all the things that you don't want all the time. So that's what I mean about the root cause of motivation will affect how your metabolism works, because it's all about the thought processes. So I hope that made sense. I want to tell you about, or talk to you about, one of my amazing clients, Raylene. So Raylene was in her 70s. She was the main carer of 2 little kids, her grandkids. So she was looking after a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. And the 7-year-old had special needs, and there was lots of specialist visits, and and the 3-year-old was very active and wanting lots of attention. Raylene was constantly in a stress state. Grandma looking after 2 little kids who, there was so much going on in her life, and she was constantly tired and stressed and triggered by, the behavior of kids, of these little ones. So what she would do is she would turn to sugar straight out of the bowl. So for her, the only way to manage her stress levels, eat sugar out of the bowl. She was tired. The sugar in her mind gave her energy, and the sweetness of it caused, the more sugar you eat, the more you want. So that's how she would self-soothe, just by going to the sugar bowl. So of course, once she'd taken full care of these little kids, her weight ballooned. She was constantly in overwhelm and exhausted, looking after them. Her mind was foggy due to the sugar. She was constantly tired due to the sugar. She had no motivation. She was she self-isolated. It was too hard to go anywhere or do anything, meet anyone. She was constantly trying to manage these little kids. So life for her wasn't very happy. She wasn't in a good state at all. She came to me and wanting to get out of where she was, in terms of her mental state, and to lose weight. And so what we did is we worked on the quality of her food. We worked on, making sure that she was giving herself good nutrition, and she was giving her kids good nutrition. So they weren't just living on chicken nuggets, because that's all she had energy to make. Chicken nuggets and chips, that's all they ate, and including her, plus the sugar out the sugar bowl. She was just exhausted. She couldn't do anything else. So we worked on her getting some self-care. So instead of locking herself in her room to get away from, kids that wanted her attention, we worked out ways that she could actually get out and about and be in community and get some help with the care of the kids, so that she could have time out. She had terrible self-talk, had held terrible guilt around, how the house was running and how she was interacting with her grandkids. And so we worked on changing all of those nasty things that she was saying to herself. Within 6 weeks, she dropped a full dress size. So her relationship with the kids was calmer. They were responding more. They were responding better to her. She was responding better to them. She was, she had joy back in her life and having a sense of fun and time out. And her food, the fact that we changed her food was a huge game changer. We changed her food, we changed her kids, the way that she was feeding the kids. So she had more energy, everyone was brighter. The quality of your food affects the quality of your mood. So that was a really great outcome for Raylene. Okay. Now, the power of story. Our inner story really holds important keys to unlocking our metabolic power. And this is really about our relationship with food, whether or not you're in control of your eating, or are your stories controlling you? Do you need to reward yourself because you've worked so hard? Is this something that I've always done? We've always had dessert. We've always, had our big Sunday roasts, and this is how our family, can't think of anything else other than to have bread all the time. I can't live without bread. We've always had bread. all of these stories that we have from our past, how our families were brought up, and how we've lived our life, and even under our own roof, aside from being in under our parents' roof, we create lots of stories, and sometimes these stories control us, and we live within those boundaries of the story, without thinking about, well, hang on a minute, could I change this? Even though I lived in my parents' house and that's how we ate and we did our life, now that I'm living in my own house, under my own roof, do I have to live the same way? No, you can make changes. You can even rewrite your story so that you can change your life. You can rewrite the stories that you tell yourself in your mind. You can rewrite your future story so that you're thinking about what you want, and not what you constantly thinking about what you don't want. So it's really important when we're talking about where we want to be, and all of this is part of metabolism, because it affects our emotions, it affects our feelings, which affects the chemical reactions and our body, and how our body uptakes nutrition, whether or not it's got enough, and is it asking for more. So being able to experience the benefits, live the story, live the life that you want to live now, rather than wait for everything to be perfect and then I'll be happy. When I've got the perfect body, and when I've got the perfect weight and all of this, when I'm happy in that bit, then I'll be happy for the rest of my life, in other areas of my life. No. In order for us to be the person that we want to be, we actually have to do that now. We have to honor and feed our body in a way that's going to support it. We have to give it rest. We have to give it relaxation. We have to be kind to ourselves. We have to do all of those things, all the things, the benefits that we want to have later on. We have to do that now, because that's how we get to where we want to be, rather than wishing and hoping, oh yeah, when I'm this, I'll be like that. When I do this, I'll be happy then. No, I encourage you to work on what you can do now to support the new body, or the new life, or the new story that you want to create. So I hope that made sense too. So really, looking at the story of your life, the story around food, the story around how you support your body with food, and how your family has, and is that supportive of where you are now. Your environment will create your story as well, what your work is like, what your family is like, how you are as a person, and what you do every day. Another interesting concept I want to talk about is who is actually sitting at your table. And this is really all about eating archetypes. And I find this really interesting, and I'd really love to see in the chat if you hear of one of these archetypes, if one of these are sitting at your table at any stage. I'd love to know. So the typical one is the child archetype. So an archetype is just really a representation of I'm not trying to work out what you would say. Well, this in fact is a child, the archetype of the child. So I'm describing a way of what a child would do when it comes to food, and how sometimes we fall into that sort of category. So the child archetype is the archetype. The child wants what it wants when it wants it. Like, it'll stamp its foot and go, no, I want this. I want it now. It wants immediate gratification. And oftentimes we will find ourselves doing that with food. I want it now, and I don't care. I'm just going to have it. I'm a child. I'm stamp my foot and give it to me now. So that is an eating archetype, the child. And this inner child is looking for gratification. It usually means it's looking for the pleasure in food. It also classically looks for junk foods and sweet foods and highly fatty foods. When a child takes over, it's pretty much immediate, it's demanding, and it rules our inner table. So that's one archetype. Another archetype, and there are many, but I've picked a couple of the ones that I thought that were the most readily or often seen, is the teen or the rebel. So the teen or the rebel is the part of us that says, bugger it, I don't care. I'm just going to break the rules. I'm going to break my food rules. I don't care. And they break them simply for the sake of breaking them. There's no really rhyme or reason for it. They know what they should be eating. They know what they're supposed to be doing, but they're just not going to do it. That's it. And, you know, this is interesting because teenagers don't like to be bored. And the rebel in us does also not like to be bored. They want to do something different with diets. They want to shake things up. When we need to feed that part of ourselves, it's because the teenager in us or the rebel in us actually has a higher metabolism. So if you think of a typical teenager, they're typically on the go. Their calorie burning rate is a lot higher. So the internal fire within us when we're a rebel or we're in a teenager is higher. And whatever increases our internal personal fire will increase our metabolic fire. So that's the metaphor of it. So remember, the internal body temperature when it's at its highest will burn more calories. And so often a rebel and a teenager are quite, you know, highly strung or highly, you know, active. So sometimes we can be that person at the table. Another time is the hungry wolf. Has anyone ever been, you know, got home ravenous at the end of the day and just opened the cupboard and just woofed everything down? This is the part that takes over. It devours food, doesn't care. It's an instinctive part of us. It's something that, you know, we get the hangries, we just got to eat. Nothing will stop us from finding that food. And it could even be, you know, that we're saying to ourselves, oh, I've been a good boy, I've been a good girl, you know, I've done all my responsibilities for the day. I did everything. I've done everything that I need to do, but I'm hungry. And this wolf part of us completely takes over and devours everything. And the wolf also likes to binge. If you're a binge eater, then, you know, if you're really hungry, you will just eat continuously until that part of you is satisfied. And some, you know, sometimes we will go on a binge, and I used to do this as a young woman. And I would be not conscious about it. I would just eat, and then I'd come back, I'd be awake at the plate, and I'd go, oh God, what have I done? And of course, then that nasty negative self-talk comes in. So that's, you know, typical of a binge eater. You could be the saboteur, the person that has this criminal mind at work and just, you know, unconsciously works against all the things that you want to do. You just sabotage everything, all your good intentions. It's just a part of us that's the other side of the coin that for some reason wants to take away what we actually really want. It doesn't care about, you know, what's going on. It just says, stuff it. I'm going to sabotage all your good hard work. It's sometimes, you know, when it shows up, it's shocking. It's like you just go, well, what is going on? But what we do need to do when this part of us comes up is to just really stop and notice and go, okay, what is going on for me now? How should I be doing this? And paying attention and being conscious once again, because sometimes this is a very unconscious part of us. So I'd just like to know from you guys out there, if you're still, if you recognize any of these parts of you when you're at the table. Do you notice that there's a child, the child that wants what it wants? Do you notice that there's the hungry wolf? Is that a part of you at the end of the day? Are any of these, the rebel or the teenager or the saboteur, do any of these resonate with you? A bit of a rebel, yeah. It's interesting to notice that these parts are there. And once again, this is an awareness. And so you can go, oh, okay, this is the rebel in me. and just notice the behavior. Definitely the wolf, the hungry wolf. So, if you are the hungry wolf, think about, well, have you fed yourself today? Did you give yourself enough food during the day? Is that why you're hungry? Simply because you haven't had enough to eat? So in all of this awareness, it's opening the doorway to go, okay, why is this? What can I do? What is happening for me now? And let's analyze, well, this is a result of something that's not, not helping. What is the root cause of being a wolf or being a child? Do I need attention? Do I need to look at a different way of eating rather than, being selfish and stamping your feet, metaphorically? So what can we do when all these things come up? We can bring to the table the king or the queen. So the king or the queen are the people that sit above all of this rabble of different archetypes. And they have wisdom. They have a sense of authority. They are able to create order sometimes in places that are very disordered. They hold a lot of self-elevation and self-respect, and know that who they are is good enough. They know that they can nourish their kingdom. They know how to take care of people. They're very generous. These are all parts that are all within yourself. And so you can call upon the king or the queen to your table, recognize, well, who is sitting at the table? Who is actually here? And how can, the king or the queen support one of these archetypes to step in and go, actually, no, we don't need to have this person here at the table today. The king or the queen is here, and the king or the queen is you, that knows what you need to be doing and how you need to do it, and just be supportive of, how you want to see yourself and be in terms of, weight loss, or how you present at any table, really. So it's allowing you to be empowered to know that you can change these behaviors. They are the people that run the kingdom, and you can run the internal part of you and make changes whenever you need. So, when you feel like any of these archetypes are taking over, listen to that voice and think about, well, why is this archetype here? But step in graciously and go, okay, that's enough. Let's make this change to this behavior. Ask yourself, what will really nourish you in that moment? What will really feed you right now? What are you really hungry for? Taking a bit of an observational look at the behavior that you have become aware of. And it's just often interesting to see who is showing up at the table, and just asking yourself, oh, who's this? Do I really want this person at my table today? Maybe not. So just a different way of looking at eating, which, by the way, totally affects how your body metabolizes food, because any of those archetypes has a different thought process around it, and any of those will totally affect how your body's eating. I just want to introduce you to Caroline. Now, see if we can play this. I'm not sure. Oh, yes,
cancer, stage 3 uterine cancer, and having chemoradiotherapy, realised that obesity adds fuel to any disease in the body. I've lost the weight before, and then I put it on, and it seemed to be yo-yoing. I lose 10 kilos, I keep putting it on. Of letting yourself down and sabotaging that behaviour was very upsetting to me. And that's not what I was wanting. So I needed something different to what I've always done. I had lost weight. I predominantly had lost 5 to 7 kilos at one stage. I mean, you made us all be aware. It's not just food, it's everything. The mindset is about changing the narrative. And what surprised me the most, that how empowering it actually was. No more of the old chaotic way. And that dieting on top of the scales, on and off, there's something more than that. And that's what I realised. It was just like, well, most definitely, please do it now. Somehow find the time, find the money, and guess what? You will find a new you.
So that was Caroline. She joined our community as a member of the Weight Loss Goals Club 12 months ago. She lost 10 kilos. And she's going through that program again with us this year, and she's lost another 5 kilos. So she's steadily getting to her goal, but she wanted to, as you might have heard, she was a very brave survivor of cancer. She had a very serious, I think she said stage 3. And her whole battle had created, her battle with cancer had caused her to put on 24 kilos. And she was, you know, had a high degree of anxiety and depression. They were her constant companions. And after working privately with me, she not only lost 10 kilos in the first 12 months, which was safe and sustainable for her. But she never went up, no more yo-yo, no more up and down. She felt confident and empowered by her food choices, rather than letting the lollies jump into her trolley. Like she would say, I'd go down the supermarket and the chips and the lollies that just jump into my trolley. And now she says she finds all the healthful, you know, the fresh vegetables. When she gets to the checkout, there's all the good foods in her trolley now. So she changed her mindset. She was constantly thinking about getting cancer again. That was her whole mindset. She was constantly researching, thinking about getting what she wanted to get rid of. And so we changed her whole mindset around that, so that she was totally transformed by, rather than thinking about getting it again, she was thinking about how she can support her health, which, you know, released her stress level. She wasn't worried about it all the time. All of this helped her with her medications. So she was actually able to reduce and remove some of the medications that she was on. So, you know, the effects of changing her state of mind totally affected how her body functioned. And in working with her doctor, she no longer needed to be on a number of the medications that she had been on, which was fantastic. It just really made another huge difference to her, how she was able to regulate her own emotions, to feel calmer. She was walking more, she felt more positive, her blood pressure improved, her depression reduced along with the medication that she was on. She was feeling relaxed, she trusted more. She was a very different person. And so, you know, that's, so yeah, in total, she's lost it. Last time I saw her, about 15 kilos. And feeling much more empowered in her life and happier. And so if you're wanting to know what and how all this happens, it's with my Mind Body Weight Reset program. So this program is a powerful 6-week program, and it is designed to reset your mind, because with all of these different parts of metabolism, all of these different elements affect our metabolism. At the crux of it, it's, you know, what's happening up here affects the chemical reactions within our body, which is, you know, the definition of metabolism. And so what we do is we get to the root cause. We work at a very deep unconscious or deep level in the unconscious, subconscious mind, so that we change the emotional relationship that people have with food. Because if there's no longer the need to be driven by negative emotions to have, you know, to self-soothe with food, then all of a sudden it allows the body to start to shed weight. Which is really life-changing for people, because it's not just the emotions of the day, it's any of those old negative emotional triggers that cause us to eat in ways that are unhelpful. We just dissolve them. And we use some really powerful techniques with hypnosis, neurolinguistics, of course, eating psychology to give people that education. We give them a personalized food and movement lifestyle. We look at everyone's life and go, well, what are you doing? How can we do this differently that will work with the life that you're living? We're not going to give you a diet, a strict restrictive diet. We're not going to give you a whole heap of recipes, follow this, this, and this. It's really empowering you to be able to do this in a way that life happens and you can't be restrictive forever. There's an online members area, there are hypnosis audios, there are healthy recipes, and we give you access to educational tips and recommended audio books, which are all designed to change how you think, which changes how you feel, which changes your metabolism. So just as part of tonight's thank you, I want to give you a download to our free weight loss hypnosis audio. So that's a QR code. If you grab your phone and bring it up to the screen, you'll be taken to a link where you can just get a free download on hypnosis. So this is really powerful because it is working at the state of mind, enabling you to start to change the way that you think, eat, and live by only eating fresh, healthy, and nourishing food and moving your body in ways that you love. So please take advantage of this free download. It is also on my website, so you can grab it there if you're not able to download it today. And it also comes with the 5-step blueprint to weight loss success, which is and just 5 easy things that I know to be true that will work, and in conjunction, putting focus on what you want, listening to your hypnosis audio, thinking about, how you're moving, how you're eating, giving yourself self-care, managing your stressors in your life, then all of these things will help you to, to lose weight and to maintain it. So if you want to know more about the Mind Body Weight Reset program, you can email me, we can jump on a call. So I think on the hypnosis audio, you'll find opportunity to book in for a free 30-minute chat. If you want to let me know, so me and say, yep, I'd love to have a chat to see how you can help me in my situation. More than happy to do that. So you can email me, or you can find us on Facebook, SA Weight Loss Hypnosis, Freedom from Binge and Emotional Eating for Women. We have a private Facebook group there. And I also want to tell you about some recommended listening and reading, which are great resources. They've been, my mainstays. Mind, Body, Nutrition by Mark David. That's an audio book available on Audible. The Blood Sugar Solution by Mark Hyman, which is all about diabetes and how to prevent it and reverse it. Breakthrough Self-Sabotage, great for the saboteurs out there. And Visualization for Weight Loss by John Gabriel, fabulous listening. And the hardcover books that you can buy, Nourishing Wisdom, again by Mark David, fascinating reading. Health at Every Size by Linda Bacon is all about, being healthy at any size, at every size. It's possible. Bigger bodied women can be healthy women, and smaller bodied women can be unhealthy. So let's look at the health at every size. The Slow Down Diet, which is this book that I was showing you before, which is, I'm running a goals club on that, which is a 8-month goals club. And I'll be running another one next year. And Rushing Women's Syndrome by Dr. Libby Weaver, fascinating insight into what the mind can do to your body. So we're at the end. I'm going to stop the share and open the floor up to Q&A. Wait a minute, where do I need to stop this share? Oh, have I stopped the share? I think I have. Let me just make this bigger. Okay. So if anyone would like to ask me a question, love to hear it. Unmute yourself if you would like, or you can pop a question in the chat. Just seeing if there's any questions there that anyone would like me to answer. Just reading through the chat, I can't see anything there at the minute. So please, if you do have anything you would like, some advice, some help, got any comments, questions, please take advantage of this time. I'm more than happy to hang about for the next 5 or so minutes. But if there are no questions, then we'll leave it here. Oh, there's a new message there. Thank you, Marg. Yeah, lots great. I'm glad that that you found that helpful. That's really great to hear. So this session, this has been recorded. There will be a recording sent out. But if you do want to reach out, please do. More than happy to have a private chat and see how I might be able to help you further. But I'm going to just stop that recording now.